Everyone in life has skill points they can put into the maths, the sciences, the arts, and for some reason, I put all of my skill points into Eternal Return, and more specifically, Adriana in Eternal Return. I've played about 3,000 games on her. I have a life, I promise, and I hit Titan at my peak, and I also stalk the top KR Adri accounts, and I'm really just a beacon of knowledge on Adriana. At least I like to think. So whether you're just starting out on the character or you want to just go super in-depth, this guide should be helpful. To start off, what you gotta know. So her passive is Pyromaniac, and Adriana can start fires on the ground. Enemies inside of those burning areas take skill damage over time and are slowed. They also receive a burn effect. This burn effect, they'll take damage over time, but they also lose defense. So it's super beneficial to be able to put this burn effect on as many people on the enemy team as possible. So how do you apply this effect? Well, her abilities. Her Q is her flamethrower. It's pretty much just a skill targeted in a specific direction. You're locked in on that direction. You can strafe left and right, but for the most part, you're pretty static once you use your Q. Her W is an oil slick. You get 2 charges. She can ignite the oil slick by using her E, her R, and her Q. Lighting the oil slick will apply your burn, it will apply your passive, and pretty much just slows and does damage over a short period of time. Her E is her fire escape. I definitely use this more of a defensive tool rather than offensive. In teams, you're freed up to use it more aggressively, but what it does is it will leave a trail of fire behind when she dashes, and it applies the same burn effect as the rest of the abilities. It's just on a crazy long cooldown though. And then her ult. Her R is the cocktail party. Adriana throws Molotov cocktails in a targeted direction. They won't hit instantly, so your opponent does have time to dodge, but on landing, it explodes, dealing damage. After the explosion, it leaves behind some fire on the ground. And Adriana does have 3 charges. Most of the reason you're building CDR is strictly for your ult. And then the last skill is her weapon skill. It's throw. And pretty much the smoke screen appears at the targeted location you throw it, but enemies inside the smokescreen have their vision reduced. So it's super nice when you're going up against like an auto attacker or someone who wants to attack you from a distance. It's a way to even that playing field. Okay, so I have some general tips to help you fight with Adriana. So E and Q both can be canceled. More importantly, your E though, since that's how you space and that's how people can get on top of you and blow you up since you're a bit of a squishy character. So if someone gets on top of you, like a Yuki or a Lennox, and you know they're about to use some CC to potentially cancel your E, then you can wait a second and take a little bit more damage, but then E out afterwards. When you use your Q, your flamethrower, you can use other abilities at the same time, like your W, your R, or your D skill. You can't use your E, but speaking of your E, you can go over walls with your E, which is a really nice escape. A few tips with the Molotov cocktails is every time I throw my R, or a lot of the times, I like to extend it with the W in the way that I want them to move. Most people ask about the W placements. I'd say if you're in like a neutral position, no team is aggressing on each other, I like to go sideways just to make sure I apply the burn debuff to as much as their team as I can. If you're running away or they're running towards you, you can place it in the direction they're trying to run. And if you're trying to run someone down, you can place it in the way they're trying to run. Pretty much, you want your W to be predicting where they're moving next. If you're missing a lot of cocktails, try to stop throwing them max range, because a lot of the time, if you throw them max range, they have a lot of reaction time to be able to dodge those. But to start fights, I like to use one off rip just because the delay between when you can use your ult charges is large enough that if you save them all for the end, you're not going to be able to just like vomit them all and win the fight immediately, you know? Oh, and just one little tip along with all of that. If you're fighting Adriana mirror matchups and you're like, I cannot tell whose fire is whose, I like to do a thing where I'll swap to the skin that has a different flame. So the Exterminator Adriana actually has a purple flame, and the Firebat Adriana actually has a red, or default has a red. So it's easier to manage your fire in those mirror matchups if you swap to the other skin. Okay, let's talk about tactical skills. So the first one that you should use is Blink. Blink is fantastic. It lets you reposition, and it lets you use your E a lot more aggressively. So the other one that a ton of people have been using is Totem. I don't love Totem though, because after the stasis, you're left very vulnerable, and Adriana is very squishy. But the CDR is really nice, so if you like it, then you like it and it's fine. I think it can do well in specific team comps. And then the last one I'd like to recommend is Soul Stealer. I think Soul Stealer is fantastic if you have someone who can take advantage of that Omni Siphon. So pretty much when you and your teammates are low, you can pop it and it consumes that energy, giving you movement speed and Omni Siphon, which is pretty much lifesteal. So it really just feels good in turning fights, getting your whole team out rather than just you, or even chasing people down. I've fallen in love with this tactical skill when I was playing with a heart, so yeah, I'd give it a go. Next up are augments. Here is what a typical page looks like. I really like Red Sprite. I've seen some people go Amp Drone, which I think is fine. Some people go Vamp, which is a little less fine, but if you like it, you like it. And then the big changes are going to be on the secondary tree. You can definitely go the green tree, or you can go the more defensive blue tree. Personally, I prefer the more defensive option, but the support tree is super nice with stuff like Thea, even stuff like Penny Pincher. But at the end of the day, this is all personal preference. I'd say if you're taking Red Sprite, you're probably good to go. Skill leveling, we're going to be leveling Q off rip. That's going to be your main damage in these fights. Your Rs will provide a lot of damage too, so max that when you can. But it's going to be Q, passive, then W, then E. You're never going to be able to E more than once in a fight unless you use it off rip and then the fight lasts like 20 seconds. But yeah, along with that, just max R when you can. Okay, let's talk about transitions. So with transitions, you're really going to want to focus two things: skill amp, and you're going to want to focus CDR. You want your CDR hanging around 30%. If you're overcapped by a little bit, it's not really that big of a deal. But I usually have about 2 or 3 slots in my inventory that at least have some CDR on it to reach this goal. There definitely are items though that I love on Adriana that extend that CDR cap, like Queen of Hearts or Taproots. But at the end of the day, I think 30% is a really good benchmark to hit. Some of my favorite damage dealing items are absolutely the Force Core items. Dragon Scale, I think, is really good right now with the Armor Pen in a tank meta. I think both Persona and Holy Orders are good, but those two won't stack together, so I usually pick one or the other. And then say you don't get Dragon Scale, I sometimes actually take Iron Maiden instead for that movement speed along with the Armor Pen. And that was some tech that I yoinked from the KR Adrianas that I've been watching. When it comes to your weapon, I usually go Amugi over Fireball, but weapon is usually the last thing I upgrade unless it's a really quick and easy Meteor Slam. But it's gonna depend on what build you go, right? Then lastly, let's talk about routes. Here's 2 routes that I've yoinked from Korean Adriana players who are up in the mithril ranks. But builds are honestly something that are going to change over time. So if you're watching this video a couple months down the line, there's probably different builds that are in the meta. I do post an update in the Eternal Return character Discord in the Adriana section if you want up-to-date builds there, or you can just stop by my stream. Both are going to be in the description, along with the codes for these builds in the description. Usually I do like a tier list of matchups for Adriana, but since the game is now team modes only, it's really hard to put together a matchup tier list like that. I would say, in general, Adriana really struggles dealing with the ADC type with high mobility. So someone like Hart or William or even an Aya is really difficult for Adriana. But with that being said, let me talk about who Adriana really likes on her team. So even though Adriana's a damage dealer now, she can't really carry the whole fight, at least in higher elos. My favorite team to watch in Korea runs Adriana, Mai, and Heart. But I think any variation of Adriana with the front line and then a damage dealer who can do damage consistently over time rather than in bursts like Adriana does, I think is very beneficial. And I wouldn't worry about going down in fights. I honestly play more aggressive, so they focus more of their attention on me rather than my consistent overtime damage dealer. Because at the end of the fight, I'm going to be out of cooldowns, and they're going to be able to just auto through the whole thing. Okay, so a few things to end the video is just macro general tips with Adriana is you gotta hold your E for fights. But when you're doing your build, I use my E off cooldown to do it faster. So obviously get your E first at the start of the game, but don't continue leveling it up. Adri doesn't need SP. I give my gold food to my front line as well, just because I'm not taking as much damage. And lastly, Adriana has great animal take. I've been able to clear mutant bear hordes by myself. But if you just want general advice to farming with her, you can auto one animal to aggro it and then auto another, and you can farm them simultaneously with your WQ combo. For the most part, you don't really need WQ for every animal, but for the bigger ones, or if you're farming multiple, I'll usually throw out a W. All right, you've got to have learned something from this video. I believe you have, but if you have any questions, leave it down in the comments. One more thing though, during all of my Adriana videos, for whatever reason, I've made it a theme to do a musical number at the end like this. I miss the old Adri. Don't miss your old Adri. Diet's your fault, Adri. Starting a cult, Adri. Or even like this. Adriana, here I go again. My. How can I resist you? So, without a further ado, buckle up.
And here we go. Adriana. She was a hot topic for a while. I know you guys are struggling, but that's not how this character was meant to be played.
You look like you'll burn so well.
I'm a one trick, I'll always take wick. 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 I like my slicks lit, I'll buy you a blue brick. I'll buy you a new fit, I'll call you a dumb fuck. How you play so much and still hard stuck? I'm a slick fuck, I'm inappropriate. I'm like griefing players, I like that they quit. I like burn emo shit, I wanna throw shit. I'll send you a clip, you stream sniping ass bitch. Okay, I'm not gonna explain what that was, but hopefully you enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.